This is the story of a mountain hiking trip I'll never forget, because not all of us made it back. It happened just last fall. Me, my cousin Emily, her boyfriend Mark, and our old friend Daniel decided to do a weekend hike in the Pine Ridge Mountains. We all needed a break from city life, and Emily had found this trail online, Raven's Peak. It wasn't on Google Maps, but some hiking forum called it Untouched Beauty. Sounded like exactly the kind of place we wanted, whom we're all experienced hikers. We had good gear, food, tents, and GPS. So we weren't worried. We were excited. It was a long drive, and by the time we parked at the base of the mountain, the sun was already dipping low. The trail started wide and well-marked. Birds chirped, the air smelled fresh, and the forest glowed gold with autumn leaves. We hiked for about 2 hours and set up camp near a rocky ridge. That night, we sat around the fire, laughing, telling old stories. Mark joked about mountain spirits. Emily told a creepy story about a woman who followed people home from the woods. I should have taken that as a warning. The next morning, things already felt off. Daniel woke us up saying he heard whispers in the woods during the night. I thought he was joking at first. He was always the funny one, but he looked serious, pale. Not animals, he said. Voices, low, like someone was humming. We laughed it off. Maybe he had a weird dream, but then we noticed something. Footprints, not ours, barefoot, human-sized, and circling our tent. Emily froze. You think someone's out here? Probably just another hiker messing around, Mark said. Let's keep moving. The summit's supposed to be amazing. So we packed up and hiked higher. The trail narrowed, twisted. The trees grew denser. By noon, the sun barely reached the forest floor, and our GPS stopped working completely. No signal, no map, just a blinking red dot. Okay, I said. We turned back. Now. But Mark didn't want to. We're close. I can feel it. Let's at least reach the summit. We argued, but in the end, we followed him. I wish we hadn't. By late afternoon, the trail disappeared, like the forest swallowed it. There were no signs, no clear path, just endless trees. We finally stopped at a strange spot, a circle of blackened trees, their trunks burnt, leaves dead. In the middle was a huge flat rock. Carved into it were symbols, lines, spirals, crosses, like ancient markings. I don't like this, Emily whispered. This place feels wrong. Then we heard it, a giggle, not close, not far. A soft laugh, like a little girl hiding behind the trees. We spun around, flashlights ready. Hello? Daniel called out. No answer, just whine through the trees. We left that place fast, but now we were truly lost. The forest had changed. Paths twisted in ways they shouldn't. Branches looked like they moved. I know that sounds crazy, but I swear I saw the same dead tree 3 times. Then it got dark. Fast. We set up camp in a panic, throwing up our tents while Emily sobbed and Mark tried to act calm. That night, none of us slept. We heard footsteps, crunching leaves, humming, always just outside the tent. Around midnight, I heard a voice, right outside, whispering my name. Jake. It was soft. A woman's voice, almost familiar. I held my breath. Didn't move. Then slowly, I peeked outside. Nothing. Just black trees and fog. But Emily was gone. Her tent was open, her bag still inside. We screamed her name, ran through the woods with flashlights, searching. Daniel found a trail, bare footprints again, leading downhill. We followed, and then we saw her, standing in the middle of the trail, back to us. Still. Emily, I shouted. She didn't turn. We ran to her, but when we got closer, our flashlights flickered, then died. Completely, we were in the dark. Then Emily turned. Only, it wasn't Emily. It looked like her. Same clothes, same hair. But the face was wrong. The eyes were too wide, the smile too sharp. And then, she laughed, a long, dry laugh, like tree branches breaking. Daniel screamed. Mark grabbed my arm and pulled me away. We ran. I don't know how long, through bushes, over rocks. My legs bled. My lungs burned. At some point we collapsed, Mark and I, alone. No Daniel, just the dark, and the cold, and the wind. We huddled together until morning. When the sun rose, the forest looked normal, peaceful. But Daniel was gone. Just gone. We tried to get down the mountain, walking for hours. And then, we found a road, a small dirt one. We followed it, and eventually reached a ranger station. They didn't believe us, of course. Said we probably got turned around. Said people imagine things in the woods all the time. They sent a search team. No trace of Emily or Daniel. No signs. Not even footprints. But here's the part that still haunts me. A week later, I got a message. An email. No subject line. Just a single photo attached. It was blurry. Dark. But in it, I saw trees. Fog. And two figures standing side by side. One of them looked like Emily. The other? I swear it looked like me. But I didn't remember taking that photo. I didn't take it. The timestamp said it was sent from my phone. But I never did it. And that trail, Raven's Peak, when I went back to look it up, I couldn't find it. The blog was gone. The forum link dead. No one else had heard of it. So yeah, that's the story I wanted to tell you. If someone invites you on a hike to a place that isn't on any real map, say no, because some trails don't lead back. This is the story of a mountain hiking trip gone terribly wrong. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, because I was there. And if you're thinking about hiking deep into the mountains with your friends, maybe you'll think twice after this. It was early September when we decided to go. Me, my best friend Jason, his girlfriend Lily, and our buddy Chris. We were all in our mid-20s, full of energy and ready for something different. Something exciting. Jason had found this trail online. It wasn't on any official hiking maps, which should have raised some red flags. But the pictures on some old blog looked amazing. Dense green forests, misty cliffs, and at the very top, a hidden waterfall no one ever visits. We were sold. We packed our gear, tents, food, flashlights, first aid kits, and our phones with downloaded offline maps. We drove 5 hours to the edge of a national park, parked the car, and began hiking. The trail started out clear and beautiful. Birds sang above us, the air was fresh, and the early morning light made everything look magical. As we climbed higher, the trees became taller and denser. The trail turned narrow and crooked. The map on Jason's phone began acting weird. It kept spinning and showing the wrong direction. But we weren't too worried. We were just having fun, laughing, taking photos, throwing pine cones at each other. After a few hours, we stopped to rest near a small clearing. That's when Chris noticed something strange. There was a wooden sign nailed to a tree, old and cracked, with faded red letters. It read, "Don't follow the voices." We stared at it. Lily laughed nervously. "What voices?" Jason said. "Probably just someone messing around, trying to scare hikers." But Chris didn't laugh. He looked uncomfortable. "Guys, maybe we should turn back." "Come on, man," I said. "We've come this far. Let's just keep going. It's probably just an old joke." So we kept hiking. As the sun began to dip behind the peaks, the air turned colder. Shadows stretched long across the ground. We finally reached a flat spot between some large rocks and decided to set up camp there. That night, we lit a small fire and sat around it, roasting marshmallows and telling stories. We were joking about ghosts and mountain spirits when Lily suddenly said, "Shh, did you hear that?" We all went quiet. At first I didn't hear anything, but then, faintly, like it was coming from far away, a voice. It was singing, soft, slow, like a lullaby. A woman's voice. Chris stood up immediately. "Nope, that's it. I'm done. We're leaving tomorrow morning." Jason tried to calm him down. "It's probably someone else camping nearby. People sing, you know? But there was something about the voice. It didn't sound right. It didn't sound human. It was too smooth, too perfect. And it didn't stop. It just kept singing the same few notes over and over, like a broken music box." That night, I had trouble sleeping. The singing continued for hours, coming and going like waves. At one point, I swear I saw a shadow pass just outside the tent. I froze, holding my breath. But when I looked again, nothing was there. The next morning, we packed up early. The trail looked different somehow. We tried to go back the way we came, but every turn looked the same. Jason's map was useless now. It kept showing us in the middle of the ocean. Chris was panicking. "We're lost. Admit it. We're not on the trail anymore." We all tried to stay calm. We decided to keep walking downhill, hoping to find a road or a stream to follow. But the deeper we went, the stranger things got. At one point, we found a cabin. It stood alone in a small clearing, old and rotting. The windows were shattered and the front door hung open. We should have ignored it. We should have walked away. But Jason wanted to check inside. Maybe there's a phone, or a map, or something helpful. We followed him in. The cabin was dark, dusty and filled with old furniture, a broken table, a torn couch, empty shelves. But on one wall, scratched into the wood, were dozens of words, over and over. "Don't follow her, don't follow her, don't follow her." We backed out quickly. That's when Lily screamed. She was standing outside, pointing at the edge of the trees. We all turned and saw her. A woman. Tall, wearing a long white dress, with hair so black it almost looked blue. She was standing still. Too still. Jason whispered, "Hello?" But she didn't move. Her head was tilted down slightly, and we couldn't see her face. Then, slowly, she lifted her head. Her face was blank. No eyes, no nose, just smooth skin. And then, her mouth opened wide. Too wide. The singing started again. Chris grabbed Lily's hand and shouted, "Run!" We ran. Through trees, over rocks, not stopping for anything. We didn't know where we were going. We just ran. The forest seemed to close around us. The trees leaned in. The light dimmed. And behind us, that voice kept singing, louder now, closer. At some point, we lost Jason. One second he was behind us, the next, gone. We called his name, again and again. No answer. Finally, we collapsed near a stream. We were shaking, covered in dirt, blood from scratches on our arms and legs. Chris looked like he was going to throw up. "What the hell is going on?" he gasped. "What was that thing?" We didn't sleep that night. We just waited for daylight. When the sun rose, we kept walking along the stream. Hours passed. Finally, we saw something up ahead. A small road. A car. Civilization. We ran toward it like our lives depended on it, because they did. The man in the car helped us, gave us water and called for help. We told the police about Jason. Search teams went out. They searched for days. They never found him. Not his body, not his clothes, nothing. Just his phone, lying, near that old cabin. The last photo on it? A blurry shot of the faceless woman, standing at the edge of the forest, her head tilted. We never went back. I haven't hiked since. Lily moved to a new city. Chris sees a therapist every week. As for me, Sometimes I still hear the song, at night, in my dreams, or when I walk near the woods behind my house. Just those same notes, soft and slow. So if you ever go hiking in the mountains, and you hear a voice singing to you from the trees, don't follow it. Don't look for it. And whatever you do, don't answer back. This is the story of a mountain hike I'll never forget, and it still gives me chills whenever I think about it. I want to tell you what happened because sometimes the mountains hide secrets you don't want to find, and sometimes you don't. Come back the same. It was a crisp October morning when my friends Olivia, Sam, and I decided to tackle the Old Pine Trail, a steep, winding path known for its stunning views, but also for being tricky and rarely traveled. We'd been planning this trip for weeks, and after a long, stressful month, it felt like the perfect escape. Olivia was the most experienced hiker among us. She had that calm, confident vibe and was great at reading maps. Sam was the joker, always making us laugh, even when the going got tough. Me? I was just along for the adventure, carrying most of the gear and secretly hoping for some cool photos to share. We started early, backpacks heavy, but spirits high. The trail began with golden leaves crunching beneath our boots and sun filtering through the tall pines. We stopped often, snapping pictures, drinking water, and sharing jokes. The fresh mountain air felt amazing. About 2 hours in, the trail started to climb sharply. The trees got thicker, the air cooler. We found ourselves surrounded by a dense fog rolling in, making the world look like a ghostly painting. Olivia checked her GPS. "We're almost at the ridge," she said, "just a bit further." Then we heard it. At first it was faint, like a faint echo drifting through the fog. A low humming, almost like someone was singing softly. "Do you hear that?" I asked. Sam shrugged. "Maybe it's the wind playing tricks." But Olivia frowned. "No, it's not the wind." We paused, trying to locate where the sound was coming from. The humming grew louder, closer. It sounded like a woman's voice, soft and haunting, singing a tune I couldn't quite place. Then we saw her. Standing at the edge of the trees was a woman, dressed in a white dress that fluttered as if caught in a breeze. Her hair was long, dark, and flowing, but her face was hidden, turned away from us. We called out to her, but she didn't move. "Maybe she needs help," Olivia said, stepping forward. Sam and I hesitated. There was something wrong about her stillness. Suddenly she vanished, just like that. One moment she was there, the next, gone. We looked around, confused. The fog thickened, and a sudden cold shiver ran down my spine. Olivia said, "Let's keep moving. We don't want to be here when the sun sets." We pressed on, but the trail was disappearing. Trees seemed to lean closer, branches snagging our clothes. Our GPS began glitching, losing signal, showing strange readings. By late afternoon, we realized we were lost. Panic started creeping in. We tried retracing our steps, but everything looked the same. Fog, twisted trees, shadows that seemed to move just at the corner of our eyes. Then Sam tripped over a root and scraped his knee badly. We stopped to tend his wound. While sitting there, I noticed something strange. A circle of stones around a dead tree. On the stones were carvings, symbols, and strange letters that looked ancient. Olivia examined them closely. "I've never seen anything like this." The humming returned, closer this time. The woman's song, weaving through the trees. Suddenly, the wind picked up, carrying whispers in a language none of us knew. The fog thickened into a wall around us. "We need to get out," Olivia said urgently. We packed up, but the trail was gone. Instead, we found ourselves deeper in the forest, circling the same clearing. That's when the woman appeared again. this time facing us. Her face was pale, almost glowing in the mist. Her eyes, I can't explain them. They were empty, black, holes staring straight at our souls. She sang louder, the melody pulling at us, almost hypnotizing. Sam stumbled forward, reaching out to her. Olivia grabbed his arm, pulling him back. I tried to shout, but my voice felt stuck. The woman's lips curled into a cruel smile. She whispered, "Stay with me." Suddenly, the forest exploded with sounds, branches snapping, animals screeching, the ground trembling. We ran as fast as we could, dodging trees and roots, but the path kept twisting, never leading where we wanted. Darkness fell quickly, swallowing us whole. We set up a small camp, huddling close. Sleep was impossible. Every minute, the singing returned. And sometimes, I thought I saw shadows moving just outside the firelight. The next day, we kept walking, desperate for any sign of civilization. Hours passed. Olivia led us with determination, but the forest never changed. Then Sam vanished. One moment he was walking beside us, the next, nothing. We called his name, screamed into the empty woods. No answer. Olivia and I looked at each other, eyes wide, with fear. We pushed on, but the feeling of being watched was unbearable. Finally, after what felt like days, we found a narrow path leading downhill. We ran until the trees thinned and sunlight hit our faces. At the bottom, a small ranger station stood, abandoned but real. We found a phone and called for help. Rescue teams came, searched the forest thoroughly. They found no sign of Sam. Only the circle of stones, the carved symbols, and traces of our campfire. To this day, no one knows what happened to him. And sometimes, when the wind howls through the trees at night, I swear I still hear her song. The woman in white, singing from the mountain shadows, waiting for the next hikers to come. So if you ever hear a soft voice humming in the mountains, and you see a woman in white standing at the edge of the trees, don't follow her, because she won't let you go. This is the story of a mountain hike that turned into a nightmare none of us could have ever imagined. It's not just any story. It's something that still haunts me years later. So listen closely, because sometimes the mountains hide things, best left undisturbed. It was a chilly weekend in late September when my friends Jack, Sarah, and I planned to hike Mount Ravenswood. Jack and Sarah were my closest friends since college. Jack loved adventure, always the first to suggest crazy trips, and Sarah was the calm, cautious one who balanced him out. I was somewhere in the middle, eager but a bit nervous about the hike. Ravenswood was famous for its beauty, but also whispered rumors about hikers who went missing or came back changed. Of course, we didn't believe those stories. We thought they were just local legends to scare tourists. We started our hike early Saturday morning, under a bright blue sky. The trail was steep but stunning, winding through thick pine forests and past crystal clear streams. The air smelled like pine needles and fresh earth. We laughed, joked, and took breaks to soak in the views. Jack kept taking photos. Sarah was making sure we stayed on track with the map, and I was trying to keep up without falling behind. Around midday, we reached a small clearing with a worn wooden bench and an old rusty sign that read, "Beware, the Hollow." We shrugged it off, probably some joke or old warning. We ate our sandwiches there, enjoying the sun. After lunch, things started to feel strange. We followed a narrow path deeper into the woods, and suddenly the air grew colder, almost biting. The trees seemed older, taller, their branches knotted, and twisted like fingers reaching out. The sun filtered weakly through thick clouds, and a dense fog began to creep in around us. "That's weird," Sarah said, pulling her jacket tighter. The weather report said clear skies. Jack laughed nervously. Mountains are full of surprises. But I noticed something else. The birds had gone silent. No rustling of small animals. Even the wind had dropped. The forest felt dead. We pushed on, trying to keep spirits up. Then, as the trail bent sharply, we saw it. A small cabin, half hidden among the trees, looking like it had been abandoned for years. The windows were boarded up, the wood dark and rotten. "Should we check it out?" Jack asked, eyes sparkling. Sarah shook her head. "No way, it feels wrong." Curious, I walked closer. The door was slightly open, creaking as the wind pushed. It inside dust-coated everything. Old furniture lay broken, cobwebs hung thick. But what caught my eye was a wall covered in strange symbols. Scratches carved deep into the wood, twisted shapes like runes or warnings. Suddenly, a chill ran through me. I felt like we shouldn't be here. Jack was already poking around a dusty table when Sarah grabbed my arm. "Let's go," she whispered. We left the cabin quickly and got back on the trail, but the fog was thicker now, wrapping around us like a cold blanket. Minutes later, the trail split into two. We debated which way to go. Jack insisted on taking the left path, saying it looked more promising, but Sarah and I felt uneasy. We chose the right, hoping it would lead us back to the main trail. It didn't. Instead, the path narrowed and twisted endlessly, leading us deeper into the fog. Every tree looked the same. Every shadow seemed to move just out of the corner of our eyes. Then, as if from nowhere, we heard it. Faint footsteps behind us. We stopped. So did the footsteps. Probably other hikers, Jack said, trying to sound brave. We kept walking, but the feeling of being watched grew heavier. The footsteps returned, matching our pace, sometimes stopping when we stopped, sometimes quickening when we hurried. Then Sarah screamed. We spun around. Nothing. But when we looked closer, we saw footprints, wet, muddy prints that weren't ours, heading in our direction. "Run!" Sarah yelled. We sprinted, hearts pounding, branches slapping our faces, trying not to trip. The footsteps chased us through the fog, echoing like thunder. After what felt like hours, we stumbled into a small clearing. And there, standing in the middle, was a figure, tall, thin, wrapped in a tattered cloak that seemed to absorb the fog. Its face was hidden beneath a hood, but two glowing eyes pierced through the mist. We froze. The figure lifted a hand and pointed at us. Suddenly, the fog swirled violently, and strange whispers filled the air. Voices speaking in a language none of us understood. The ground beneath us trembled. Jack grabbed my arm. "We need to get out of here." We turned and ran, the whispers chasing us like shadows. But the forest was changing. Paths we'd just taken now disappeared, replaced by thick walls of brambles and roots. Every direction looked like a trap. We climbed a hill, desperate for any sign of civilization. At the top, we found an old stone altar, covered in moss and dried bloodstains. Scattered bones lay around it. Sarah collapsed, tears streaming down her face. "This place, it's cursed." Jack and I tried to comfort her, but deep down, we knew it wasn't just superstition. Suddenly, the figure appeared again, this time closer. Its voice echoed in our minds, chilling and cold. "Leave this place, or become part of it." We didn't wait to hear more. We ran down the hill, blindly crashing through the underbrush. Hours later, we finally burst out of the forest onto the dirt road where our car was parked. We didn't speak much on the drive home. Days passed, but none of us could forget. Strange things happened after the hike. Jack stopped taking photos. His camera would always glitch or erase images of the forest. Sarah had nightmares of the cloaked figure. waking screaming. And me? I sometimes hear whispers in the wind, calling my name. We never told anyone about the figure or the altar. Most would call us crazy. But the mountains never forget. So if you ever hear about Mount Ravenswood or see a trail called Old Pine, be careful. Some places are meant to stay hidden, because once you walk those woods, the mountain might decide you belong to it forever. This is the story of a mountain hiking trip I'll never forget. I'm going to tell you everything exactly as it happened. You can believe me or not, but I promise, every word is true. So listen carefully, and don't ever hike alone in the mountains, especially those mountains. It started last October. My two friends, Raj and Samir, and I planned a hiking trip to a remote mountain range in Himachal. It wasn't a touristy place. In fact, most people avoided it. That should have been our first warning. But we were young, excited, and full of energy. We thought we'd find peace, silence, and adventure. The villagers at the base of the mountain looked at us strangely when we told them where we were headed. One old man even pulled Raj aside and whispered something to him. Raj laughed it off and said, "He told me the mountain doesn't like visitors." We all chuckled, not realizing how serious he was. Our backpacks were full of food, water, flashlights, sleeping bags, and a map we printed from some website. The climb started smoothly. Tall trees surrounded us, birds chirped above, and a cool breeze brushed our faces. We were enjoying every step. By the afternoon, we were deep in the forest part of the mountain. That's when we saw something strange. It looked like a small shrine, made of stones and wood, with red cloth tied around it. There were animal skulls placed neatly around the base. I felt a chill. Samir joked, "Maybe this is the mountain's way of welcoming us." We took a few photos and kept walking. By evening, a thick fog began to rise. We hadn't reached the spot we planned to camp at, but we were tired. So we stopped near a flat area, set up our tent, and lit a small fire. The silence around us was heavy. No birds, no wind, just quiet. That night, I woke up to a soft whispering sound. At first, I thought it was the wind, but then I realized it was someone murmuring in a low voice, almost chanting. I opened my eyes and looked around. Raj and Samir were fast asleep. I peeked outside the tent. Nothing. Just fog and darkness. Lay back down, heart pounding, but then I heard it again, this time closer. A slow, scratchy voice saying something in a language I couldn't understand. I froze. The sound stopped. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning I told the guys, but they laughed. "You probably dreamed it," Samir said. I wanted to believe that too, but my gut told me something wasn't right. As we continued up the trail, things got worse. The path became harder to follow. Trees looked twisted, like their branches were reaching out to grab us. At one point we found another shrine, but this one was broken, as if someone had smashed it in anger. Raj picked up one of the skulls and joked, "Hey look, it's smiling at you." I snatched it from him and tossed it aside. "Don't touch these things," I said. I wasn't joking anymore. We were supposed to reach the top by late evening, but it started getting dark earlier than expected, way earlier. Like someone had turned off the sun. We had to stop again and camp. That night, things got terrifying. We heard footsteps circling our tent, slow, heavy steps. At first, I thought it was an animal, maybe a bear, but the steps were too human. Samir grabbed a flashlight and pointed it out the tent flap. Nothing. Then we heard breathing, right outside. Deep, loud breathing, like someone was standing just behind the thin tent wall. Samir shouted, "Who's there?" No answer, just silence again. Raj unzipped the tent and rushed out with a stick. Samir followed. I stayed inside, too scared to move. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. But they didn't come back. I finally crawled out, shaking. "Raj! Samir!" I whispered. My flashlight flickered. The fire was out. I called again. Then I saw Samir running back through the trees, eyes wide with fear, shouting my name. He grabbed my arm and yelled, "We have to go! Now!" "Where's Raj?" I asked. He shook his head, tears in his eyes. Something took him. We didn't pack anything. We just ran. Through trees, over rocks, tripping, slipping, getting scratched by branches. The forest was alive with sounds, cracks, whispers, and once a scream. A horrible, inhuman scream. We ran until sunrise. We ended up at the same broken shrine. Somehow we had gone in a circle. That's when we saw Raj, or what was left of him. He was standing, but his eyes were blank. His face was pale like wax. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. And around his neck was that red cloth from the shrine. Samir cried out and ran toward him, but I pulled him back. Raj lifted his hand slowly and pointed to the forest. Then he disappeared. Not walked away, he just vanished. We were frozen for a full minute before I grabbed Samir and dragged him down the path. We didn't stop. Not for food. Not for water. Not even when our legs felt like they'd break. We just kept going, praying we'd reach the base. We stumbled into the village just after noon. The same old man who had warned us saw us and rushed over. He didn't even ask questions. He took us to a small temple and made us sit inside while he chanted something over and over. Later, we told the locals what happened. They didn't act surprised. One of them said, "That mountain doesn't forget when it's disrespected. You should never touch the shrines." Samir and I stayed in the village for a day before heading back to the city. We didn't talk during the whole trip home. We just stared out the window. It's been 6 months. Samir doesn't sleep well. He keeps saying he sees Raj in his dreams. Me? I haven't hiked since. I can't even look at mountains without remembering that night. And sometimes, late at night, I still hear that whispering, just outside my window. So, if you ever plan a hiking trip, listen to the warnings. Respect the land. And if you ever see a red cloth tied to anything, don't touch it. Walk away. Because some mountains are not just rocks and trees. Some mountains are alive.